Well, we have listened to a snippet from the chat or the presentation, speech by the two opposition parties, main opposition parties now, from the PDP and the Labour Party, as Waziri Atiku Abubakar and Mr. Peter Obi, respectively. Doctor.
Okay, let's take the issues one after the other. Let's start with Mr. Peter Obi, who had a World Press Conference yesterday. Before he did so, we had heard from his running mate, Abati Ahmed, running mate of the Labour Party, who had forewarned us that the result of the election was unacceptable to the Labour Party, and that the Labour Party will go to court. Abati Ahmed was very clear in this regard, that that election was marred by irregularities. And he ended that press conference by saying that we will hear shortly after from the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi. And as it turned out, as predicted, Mr. Peter Obi yesterday held that press conference in which he categorically made it clear that the election was not fair, was not credible, was not free. And that indeed his major claim that the Labour Party won the election and that he will prove it. He made a point that anybody who wants to become president of Nigeria to be called His Excellency must reach that process through an excellent, must reach that position through an excellent process. In other words, he questioned categorically the integrity of the process. Number two, Mr. Peter Obi, as his running mate also did before him, appealed for calm and said that the party will go to the court to challenge the results. But challenging the results will mean also for him that he has faith in the judiciary. He said the judiciary has never failed him before. After all, as governor of Anambra State, he was impeached. But he went to court, he won. He was reinstated as governor. So he called himself a beneficiary of the judiciary, and that he still believes that that same judiciary will live up to the expectations of Nigerians. Number three, he made a point that these just concluded presidential elections, National Assembly elections, will go down in Nigerian history as one of the most controversial in the history of the country. So we have it there. The Labour Party presidential candidate has rejected the outcome of the results of the elections held on February 25. By the same token, the presidential candidate of the PDP, People's Democratic Party, former Vice President Waziri of Adamawa Atiku Abubakar, also addressed a World Press Conference where he said that the election that was just concluded was marred by unprecedented fraud. He said his heart is full of sadness, and in that regard, he was on all fours with the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, who in fact wept. The shortest line in the Bible is that section of the Bible that says, Jesus wept. Yesterday, Peter wept. But here, in contemporary times, the weeping of Peter Obi is about what he considers the tragedy that has befallen Nigeria, which is a statement that was further echoed by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. And the candidate of the People's Democratic Party called out President Muhammadu Buhari. He said this cannot be the legacy that President Muhammadu Buhari promised. He referred to the election of February 25 as a rape of democracy, as a grossly flawed election in every material particular. In other words, the big issue yesterday was that we had presidential candidates of the Labour Party, of the People's Democratic Party, one after the other, coming forward to say that they reject the results of the February 25 election. Before then, the New Nigeria People's Party had also held a conference at which the NNPP also rejected the results of the election. So what we have, as has been pointed out, is a disputed election. But what is the response from the other party? And it's not only PDP, Labour Party, NNPP rejecting. The African Action Congress, the party led by Omoyele Sowore, who was told that he scored 14,000 plus votes, I said no, there's no way he could have scored 14,000 votes. He too has rejected the results of the election. The only party that has now become amphibious, is the ADC, African Democratic Congress, that is now saying, oh, it's one faction that is against it, another faction is in support of it. But what is clear is that this is indeed a very controversial election. But the response from the triumphalist All Progressives Congress is to be noted. And the response from Keyamo, from Fani Kayode, from other spokespersons of the party is to say, go to the court. We will meet you there. We are ready for you. And what they are saying is that Keyamo made a number of instructive statements. He said about the APC, about the PDP, People's Democratic Party, that there's no way Atiku could have won because Atiku arrived dead on arrival on the ticket. Of the Labour Party, he said no, that Peter Obi had been a divisive figure in this particular campaign, and that how did he ever think that he will win? Well, Femi Fani-Kayode and Dele Momodu even had more, aggressive things to say. However, what the law says, what the international observers have pleaded for, what everyone is asking for, is that, look, all the gladiators should explore the established legal mechanisms for dispute resolution, which is to go to the court. So we're likely to see in this election a round of a plethora of litigations, and all the lawyers, I'm sure, are already getting ready. All the legal teams are being put together, but at the end of the day, what all of this will be about will be the integrity of the judiciary. The judiciary ensuring justice and ensuring that the entire process is protected in terms of integrity and credibility. Because it's one thing to win elections, it's another thing to govern.